this is a very difficult situation for us as a small independent restaurant.
So would you ask people if they were from the Green Party, for example, or anyone on the left? Would you think it would be appropriate for you to call them up and ask them to take their posts down?
I would call anybody. I would call anybody to ask them if they could just take it down if it had a negative impact on the restaurant itself, if it was having a negative impact on the business.
Very much doubt that any one of those trolls on Facebook, Wokebook as it is now, has ever been or ever will go to Joe Allen's, because, you know, they're too busy sitting behind their phones and their laptops firing off tweets about people being fat and racist.
Despite what this woke guy told me in the phone call, there were actually only two troll posts that made any negative comments about the fact that myself, Alison Pearson, and Lucy Connolly had been at this restaurant. So it's all kicked off after Lucy Connolly, myself, and Alison Phillips were effectively cancelled by the woke London restaurant Joe Allen, a fixture on the entertainment circuit for years, after I posted what I thought was an innocent, celebratory picture of us celebrating Lucy's freedom. Remember, this time last year, she was in jail. Now, I got a call from Tommy Brethren, the general manager of Joe Allen. That call, which I decided to make public, has now gone viral. But what's so shocking is that there are already discrepancies in terms of what he was telling me on that call and what the truth was. So during our phone call, he made out as if there had been a massive backlash against Joe Allen for hosting us at the restaurant. By the way, I stress that this was all paid for by ourselves. Actually, Lucy and Ray, her husband, the Conservative councillor, shouted us, which was very lovely. And when I said on the show yesterday, based on what Tommy Brethren had told me in the phone call, that the bill was £390, Raymond actually said, no, it was £534 that we spent in this Joe Allen restaurant. But my superstar panel who are with me, Elizabeth Fox and Lalani Dowdy, Lalani actually was doing a little bit of super sleuthing on this and discovered that despite what this woke guy told me in the phone call, there were actually only two troll posts that made any negative comments about the fact that myself, Alison Pearson, and Lucy Connolly had been at this restaurant. The first was a guy called Tim Lambert, who said totally okay with being tagged in with the UK's worst racists. Okay, so there's that whole racist term again. And then this guy, and this was the one that he read out to me in the call, Nate Maker 2, serves racists so it's infected with rats. Now, we've looked into this Nate Maker 2, and he's a hard leftist. That profile picture, the cover picture there says, "Long live the student intifada." So this hard leftist on a campaign against anyone who is in any way on the right was able to totally drive what Joe Allen did. Now, of course, this has backfired because the phone call has been listened to now well over 1 million times. There's been a huge celebrity reaction on this to the right. But I think the thing that has pleased me most are the ordinary folk who are just saying enough of this. So even though there were only two comments about the fact that Lucy Connolly, Alison Pearson, and myself decided to dine in that restaurant, since the phone call being released, there are hundreds now. I'll just read some of them out to you. Josie Simpson wrote, "Unwelcoming to anybody that offends. Complaining fake customers or doesn't go along with the restaurant's political views, avoid at all costs." Graham Wells, "I will no longer go here as they don't welcome law-abiding members of the public. They only wish to have the minority of left-wing complaining people who wouldn't even eat here. Tommy, you should hold your head in shame." Rob Pountney said, "I pay to eat, not be judged." Gareth Roynan said, "Make sure you don't take a photo and post it as they will ring you up and ask you to take it down. They are quick enough to take nearly £400, over 500 actually for the meal, which wasn't very good, then have the cheek to ring you up the following day to take a picture down. Shame on them. Go woke, go broke. Shame on you all. Hope you go bankrupt after treating paying customers like that. If you've got any decency about you, ring Dan Wootton and donate his bill to a charity of his choice." From Paul Whitaker, One comment against Dan Wootton eating at Joe Allen's from a guy with his pick as a stormtrooper from Star Wars, so they phoned Dan asking him to remove his photo, tagging the restaurant. Shame on you, Joe Allen, won't be visiting again. Rick McWaney, boycott Joe Allen. Sean Coyle, I've just seen the video by Dan. A lesson will be learned here for sure. Actually calling a customer to remove a tag for a night they enjoyed at the restaurant because some armchair activist trolls decided to brandish and label your customer. Whatever Joe Allen restaurant is, something within your control as it's your page. You can mute and block said content from said trolls and they would not have been aware. But no, instead you decided to bite the hand that feeds the survival of this business. Stephen Pearson said boycott Joe Allen's after the way they treated Dan Wootton. David Gilbert said, do you realise your political views are part of their customer interactions? See Dan Wootton's experience for information. So this went on and on and on, and I am so grateful for the support. And I do also understand people who say, look, this is an independent restaurant. You don't want to destroy them. And that, of course, is not what I'm attempting to do. But at the same time, I just think if I was to say silence about this, am I now going to feel like someone of my political persuasion should feel like they can't post a picture at any restaurant? No, we need to teach these restaurants a lesson. But I did offer the opportunity for Tommy to come back on the show today so that we could have had a respectful discussion. He refused to do so. Here's a reminder, by the way, of what happened in that awful phone call. Okay, half of you watching this are not subscribed to Dan Wootton Outspoken, and the best way you can support what we do is by hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted to our new episodes.
Onto our site, serves racists, so is infested with rocks. I mean, that's just one post that I've got so far.
And you thought it was a good idea, did you, because of some trolls, to call up a paying customer to your restaurant and read them out the troll post? Do you have a problem with me eating in your restaurant?
No, not at all. I mean, this is a very difficult situation for us as a small independent restaurant.
So would you ask people if they were from the Green Party, for example, or anyone on the left? Would you think it would be appropriate for you to call them up and ask them to take their post down?
I would call anybody. I would call anybody to ask them if they could just take it down if it had a negative impact on the restaurant itself, if it was having a negative impact on the business. Yeah, of course I would. I mean, Dan, you would do the same thing.
No, I absolutely would not. You don't know a thing about me if you think I would do that. I believe in free speech. I believe in a capitalist society. We were paying customers to your restaurant. What you're effectively saying is that only people who have a particular political philosophy would you welcome tagging into your restaurant. I've never heard something so offensive in my life. So you've literally called me out of the blue on a Monday morning on my mobile phone, having eaten in your restaurant. We paid, how much was our bill on Saturday night?
£390.
So we paid £390 to eat in your restaurant. Rather than being grateful, you're calling me up and saying you want me to remove a tag on a social media post. And Lucy Connolly made the point that, of course, the people who were trolling, and there were only two, were never going to eat in Joe Allen anyway.
I didn't pick up, on anyone's staring or giving us funny looks. Like you said, and people just enjoying their time, seem really, jovial, and no, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all the whole time we were in there. Very much doubt that any one of those trolls on Facebook, Wokebook as it is now, has ever been or ever will go to Joe Allen's because, they're too busy sitting behind their phones and their laptops, firing off tweets about people being fat and racist. Read the room. People are really unhappy with things in the UK at the minute. We are the silent majority, and unfortunately, the minority are so loud online, and they make everybody believe that this is what everybody thinks and this is what everybody wants. Yeah.
I mean, Leilani Dowding, it was so shocking when you told me, Dan, there were only two. Because after the phone call, I'd sort of assumed that his page must have been flooded, that it must have been some sort of campaign. You know how the left do these campaigns. Yeah. But it was two comments.
Well, I couldn't believe it because I saw it obviously on your ex, and I thought, well, let me go and have a look. I thought, this poor guy doesn't really understand how to be, stand up to these people, because that's what you have to do. You have to grow some balls and you have to stand up to them. Can you imagine you, Betty, me getting offended by some, like, silly, again, hurty words, right? So I thought, let me go and have a look. And I just couldn't believe it, because there was the one that he read out. There was one more, and that was it. And I thought, you know what, he could have done this so differently, because as you said, and as Lucy said, these are never organic. It's not organic for these Facebook posts, and it was certainly not organic the people that wrote to Ofcom for Mark Stein, for you, for Father Calvin, and for Lawrence Fox. They aren't people that watch GB News, just like these are not people that go and eat in John Allen's, right? They weren't there judging the food. They were judging you, because they'd seen this post somewhere, and that then which also, by the way, should not be allowed when you write reviews, unless you've been there. You shouldn't even be allowed to write a review about it. So yeah, going back to it, I couldn't believe it. I thought, what the best thing for that guy to have done was just to get a few people to counteract it. So I was going to go on there, write something nice saying, wonderful people, wonderful clientele, counteract the trolls. That's what you have to do, and because I remember it happened to Adam Brooks. They went off and attacked his pub.
Yes,
so he was just,
lefties.
and they're lefties, and that's what, unfortunately, what they do. But you have to stand up for it, you have to really, just grow some, and say you're not going to have it.
Because what I really worry about, Elizabeth, is like a segregated society. And I think we are heading there. Because why would someone like me want to go to a restaurant and spend good money on a place where I know I'm not welcome? And it was very obvious that this guy was woke and that the restaurant is woke, because they took those two complaints so seriously. Now, obviously, you're the wife of Lawrence Fox, and I just wondered if you've ever had any trouble when you've been out, or ever felt like you're unwelcome eating somewhere, because it never happens to people on the left, ever. It's only people on our side of politics. I mean, whether you call it the right or the conservative side or the freedom fighting side, however you want to put it, it's only on our side that we have to deal with this type of shit. But first, quick word on something I rely on every single day: Surfshark. In a world where governments, big tech, and opportunist hackers are all vying for your data, keeping your browsing private isn't optional, it's essential. And here in the UK, we've even seen sites, and reporting some of our own, at Outspoken, pushed behind the Online Safety Act. So that's why I use Surfshark VPN. It shields what I do online, helps me steer clear of censorship, and lets me access the content I pay for wherever I am, even when I'm traveling and want to catch up on shows or sport that don't appear in the particular zone. But Surfshark isn't just a VPN. It's a full toolkit for safer browsing. Clean web block ads, trackers, malware, and phishing links so pages load cleaner and faster. It's a beautiful experience, actually. And if your connection ever drops, Kill Switch cuts the internet so your data doesn't leak. And if you need certain apps like online banking to skip the VPN, Bypasser handles that with a couple of clicks. There are 3,200 plus servers in over 100 countries, so you can switch locations in seconds. Great for finding better online deals. I have to be honest with you, I have snagged some cheaper flights thanks to Surfshark. And you can run Surfshark on unlimited devices too, which means your whole household is covered in one plan. If you want to lock down your data, defend your online freedom, and support Outspoken, head to surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code Outspoken at checkout to get an extra 4 months of Surfshark VPN. That's surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code Outspoken for an extra 4 months on us. You can click in the description box below this video too. But now back to the show.
Yeah, it is because the hypocritical left who are very much hashtag be kind and equality and inclusivity, they're actually very nasty. They're very malicious. And unfortunately, it's backfired on that restaurant massively so for him even attempting to bow to the mob. Why would you even consider that? We need to get back to a time where it's okay for people to disagree, whether it's politically, whether it's opinions, whether it's, haircuts, fashion, whatever. It's okay to say, I disagree with somebody. You didn't go there, Dan. You didn't pay money to be judged, like that comment said. You
No.
paid for food. You paid to go and dine. And yes, it is the majority of people on our side, on the right, if you like, that are judged the most, vilified the most. And, to be honest, we've been quite lucky. Like I'm sure Lawrence has had it previously when we weren't together, but since we've been together and we've been out, he actually gets a lot of positive people come up to him. We've been out to restaurants, and the establishments we've been eating at have actually said, these drinks are on us, or your food's on us. We stand with you. Thank you for speaking up. So we actually get a lot of positive. But I mean, this is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
That was the crazy thing. Yeah, the crazy thing is when I walked in to the restaurant, actually a lovely guy, he wasn't working there, he was just a customer, came up and said, I love what you do. And, so yeah, it's a real shame, but I just think this is the slippery slope. And if we don't start calling this stuff out and it becomes just accepted that people on the right, who, by the way, agree with the vast majority of this country, are potentially going to be banned from restaurants, then it is a dark, dark path that we are heading. And I'm not being, I don't think, hyperbolic to say, Leilani, when I think about what happened in America, for example, and you obviously split your time between the US and the UK, conservatives were being banned. Trump MAGA supporters were being banned from certain eateries and things around 2020, that type of time, probably even earlier. And look at where it led, to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We don't want to go down that path.
No, absolutely not. But I will say, as Lizzie was saying, when she came to my local, with Lawrence, my local pub landlord absolutely loved him, welcomed me, and wanted photos with him, everything else. And you and Alan would be more than welcome up in my area, I think, to come in and to have some nice pub grub up here. But we don't want this. We don't want to see such divisions, such hateful words. As Lizzie said, we really need to be able to accept other people's differences of opinion. We've got to stop making absolutely every single little thing political. If you want to go out for a meal, why can't we just leave the politics behind? Why does this restaurant owner have to get involved in it? Why do these trolls have to come and say something? And it's getting a little bit like that Black Mirror episode Nosedive. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where it's all just, oh my goodness, it's like it is now, where everything's ratings. Everything you do, it's a star for this or 5 stars for that, and it becomes like a social credit system, and it's all about what your likes are and what your stars are, and we see this with all these things. And this guy's worried about 2 Facebook reviews. Like, totally. What has it come to when he's not worried about people walking in and word of mouth and good food and a good experience? He's worried about 2 stupid posts on Facebook, and this whole thing, I think, is a really massive problem in society, where we're just so worried now about social media and our stars and our likes, and it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare, just like in the show Nosedive. It's just, and it's a slippery slope, as you say.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Beautifully put. Thank you so much to my wonderful superstar panel, Leilani Dowding and Elizabeth Fox. Adore you both. Thank you both so much, and hope to see you very, very soon. Now, of course, we will reveal today's Greatest Britain Union Jackass in just one moment. But first, to your comments. PZ3946 says, just ignore Bob Villan and he'll disappear into obscurity where he belongs. Well, I would love to. But of course the mainstream media are never going to ignore him. Yorkshire Raider said, Nigel is so weak, I can't vote reform with him in charge. Kath Lissenden, this made me giggle. Lammy makes Joey Essex look intelligent. Jackie Gummer says, still won't follow Mike Graham until he apologises to Tommy. And Life Educator 101 on the whole issue of Joe Allen says, such a shame, but well done, Dan, for calling him back to give him the opportunity to resolve the fit. If he chose not to, unfortunately, it shows more about him than it does about you. Such a shame. And yet, just to say, I did offer Joe Allen the opportunity to come on yesterday, to come on today. I think it's important to call out what happened, but at the same time, I also was open to there being a resolution, but they clearly don't want there to be a resolution. Okay, a reminder of your Union Jackass nominees. Samir Shah, BBC chairman, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for that car crash appearance at the Select Committee yesterday. The aforementioned Bob Villan, nominated by Scott Fly 239 because he's now playing the victim. And Ed Davey, the Liberal Democrat leader, nominated by Matt Cass, 48, who says he's like Zach Polanski's embarrassing uncle, which truly is saying something. Okay, the results are in. It was close today. In third place with 29%, Samir Shah. The runner-up with 30%, Ed Davey. But today's Union Jackass with 41% of your vote, Bob Villan. And today's Greatest Britain is the Restore UK leader Rupert Lowe, nominated by Rhea Morrigan, who says for holding the government to account every single day, donating his salary to worthy causes, not caring about name calling, and giving us hope and inspiration. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.